Oh,
Yep.
no. I think no one can do it. I think no one minds if you finish your ice cream.
Thank you very much.
You can finish your ice cream. No one cares, to be honest. All right. So hello everyone. Welcome to our eighth session of this podcast series that Gaber and I have been running now for the past almost 2 months.
Hmm.
Almost 2 months, Gaber. Where we wanted to share with you as much as we can, from the PMP training based on PMBOK 8. By the way, Gabriel, did you know that no one in the world is taking the PMP exam today?
Yeah, I know that. I know that. I know that
It's
is
a
a
break.
very rare time, which I don't know. Never happened maybe in history, but at least the past 5 years it never happened.
It's a how do they call this? A blackout period. Today is a
Blackout.
blackout. Yeah. So yesterday were the last people taking the exam. So today they receive the results. Probably some will wait longer, and then tomorrow officially starts the version 8. How are you preparing for that, Gabriel?
Yeah, I told my students do not take the exam between the 9th and the 10th, and the 9th and the 19th. Just be careful at the moment. No, I mean you are absolutely right. So I would say that if you're not already been looking into PMBOK 8 in more deeply, technically, I would say that you should just enhance your knowledge and dedicate another 2 weeks, 3 weeks just to better understand, the mindset they impose, the principles, how they are relating with each other. And also, I would say the questions, you need to be prepared that you're going to be, seeing questions on the exam, which might not seen somewhere else because not every simulator is updated, let's say, with the case study based questions. And then also how the breaks will unfold. In my personal opinion, just like you mentioned, I think PMI will still keep the 60 questions break. Otherwise, there will be lots
Yes.
of complaint or it doesn't make
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
So yeah, I have. I mean, most of my students were sitting up until yesterday. I have a new batch, which is going to be in August timeframe. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and
Yeah.
see.
Actually, there is a funny question that came to me in the past 2 weeks. It's not funny. It's a legit question, to be honest. It's legit.
Okay.
Many people, hundreds probably, maybe thousands, took the training based on version 7. We call the version 7 version 8. So we can go with that
Yes.
nomination.
Mhm.
No problem with that. Um, and many of them could not take the PMP exam due to commitments, whether professional commitments or personal commitments, etc. And they ask me, is there a bridge course they can take without going deep? I mean, without redoing the entire 35 hours. Honestly, I have the course. I'm going to be honest. I have prepared the bridge course. It's going to be published tomorrow. It's a 4-hour bridge course. I
Mhm.
call it the PMP wrap up. Okay. However, I'm going to be honest, and I want this to be recorded. So, there will be, it will be like a witness, like a
Yeah, yeah,
proof
yeah.
that I said this. My recommendation, everyone on earth, if you have taken the training before this new version 8, redo the entire training. It's not about getting that bridge, getting the governance chapter, which was sort of integration chapter before.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Sort of, okay, let's say there's very similar with some changes. And it's not just about looking at the AI chapter and then you would say that's it. No, really, in every chapter there are new techniques. I don't. When I see techniques, many people would expect that. Okay, let's open the PMBOK and we see those new techniques. Oh, but we already have them in PMBOK 6 or 7. I mean, there are a couple of few new techniques, but the way those techniques now are being presented in the question is different. The deepness or how deep we go in
Yeah.
that mindset is a little bit different. In some topics, some, as we mentioned before, the types of questions being mentioned on the exam, the depth, the width, all of that are a little different. The discussion that started on Saturday between, I shared that post on
That's it.
Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
I shared the post on Saturday, and there was an interesting discussion from some people who are really interested in project management on how how much is this change in version 8? Some said 10%. I said around 30%. Because when I say 30%, it's not just the content. It's the content, the presentation of the questions in the exam itself, and the types of questions. And then how deep you go here, what you don't do anymore, what you should not focus on anymore, etc. So, because, Agile is not going to be the same as in the previous version. Yes, it is Agile, but maybe when it says, what should the project manager do? Now, let's be careful what that means, or the project leader, or etc., etc. So taking a bridge course, good idea. If there is any, I'm going to provide one tomorrow, but better is to redo the entire training, because the entire training is like a flow. It's a full flow.
I absolutely agree with you, and I think I do see providers, some of the competitors, that if you have a course, let's say from the past, they also updating it for the current version. And I think that's what most cases have actually been happening, and I think my sentiment to anyone to not underestimate the change would be the following: that, like, we know exactly what the exam is all about. So if you go into the exam content outline, you can figure out the number of questions, you can figure out the content, the high level topics which will be there. The only thing I don't know is that the way they're going to asking you. And that's where the challenges are even today. That, for example, because I do remember, current exam content outline, people domain, point number 1 or task number 1 is the conflict management. Now, how you managing conflicts, in Agile, how you managing conflicts in waterfall, that's why they're always going to challenge you whatsoever. But the key difference is that to understanding PMI way of conflict management, you have to do a deep dive into communications, you have to do a deep dive into stakeholders, and you have to do a deep dive into, what was the other one? Leadership. Yeah. So you have to and that's for resources. So you have to have the understanding of all these 3 main domains, for example, to make sure you have a comprehensive understanding of how to solving different conflicts. And that's where the current challenge is, that the way they're going to asking you, and that can challenge you. And I think overall, even though the exam duration increased, which is a good thing, still not good enough to make sure you can spend 5 minutes to analyzing questions. Yeah. And I think everybody needs to consider that the timing aspect of it is still going to be the biggest factor. For example, why someone cannot score like 90-95% before the exam. Because many people say, I know this, I can score like 90-95, but not everybody's able to do that, because simply after a while there will be a big time constraint to do that. So you are absolutely right. If somebody did a course before, you can do a bridge course, if something which you already offer, which is great, or simply you go and take a course which is in line with the new content. But again, you might not need to go as thoroughly as before, because, for example, in the new exam, we still going to have a scope baseline, cost baseline, schedule baseline. So you're not going to hear, say, completely new things. In that case, you might can go into double speed. That's what I tell people. So do not overthink it. You do not need to create another 50-page of study notes because you just create another PMBOK guide for yourself for an unnecessary reason, which you're never really going to go back and reading it. So I think, be pragmatic, be mindful, and just understand from a flow perspective, because that's what PMI testing. I'll give you back the word in a second, which is, they testing your understanding, how waterfall works beginning to an end, how Agile Scrum works beginning to an end. You understand the differences, and you understand how hybrid works on a high level. In a very, very simple terms, that's what the exam is all about. Where in one component, Agile Scrum did not change, which is fantastic. Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So today we wanted to touch on the 2 remaining main topics. We have Gaber. We did not discuss risk management, and we did not discuss AI. The risk management is a very interesting chapter, always in any version I've been teaching, since risks. And PMI, pays a great deal to risk management, since every issue, every problem was a risk.
Yeah.
But it became a problem for 2 reasons. Either we did not discover it as a risk, we did not identify it as a risk, so then it became an issue, or We figured that it exists, but either we did not take effective mitigation action in case if it's a threat, or simply we took action but it was not effective. Okay, either way, it became an issue.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to share, or we're going to share with everyone, few slides about risk management, and then a few slides, from AI. AI is, at least in my course, in my training, is quite a long chapter where we go deep dive into AI, different models, different applications, different AI tools, a practice case, etc. So I just picked a few slides, to be honest. So
Can I add something?
yes,
Can I add
please.
something?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
The only thing I wanted to add here, and this is for anyone watching this session, is that, and also the recording. So risk management, this slide on its own was helping me 2 promotions in my career, 2 promotions,
Wow.
because I'm fully honest with this. I got two
Yes, yes.
promotions just because of this, because the level of thoroughness PMI explained this. This is an area where you can technically copy paste it to your day-to-day project management. And if you do that, even I would say 80% the level of thoroughness, people will notice, and they will notice by day one that you are responsible, you are taking the lead, you are taking the ownership. And technically, if you do this for a consecutive amount of time, seriously, that's the type of people who people would like to see in management, taking ownership of the next project. So I mean, just a teaser to everyone. I mean, this has actually been, mice looks very detailed, very step by step, but it is exactly what it is. But for example, this is one of the areas which you can copy paste real life. You can do it that level of thoroughness, and like you can thrive in your career. So this is how powerful risk management it is.
And well said, Gaber. Actually, you see, I have my full PMP training presentation. It's almost 800 pages. But then I pick the most important pages from my training or from my course, and I put them in one document. Now that document is around, I think, 30 pages, 40 maybe. And I tell my students, I know you took the training with me of 35 hours and you went through 800 plus slides. Now I'm leaving you with these 30, 40 slides that will help you beat the exam or help you succeed in the exam, because they contain everything you need from each, let's say, it's called chapter. Okay. And this is
Yeah.
one of them. This is one of them. This is one of the most important slides that I'm picking from the risk management chapter. So it explains how risk management is done, an overview about it. When you need to start with planning or your risk, or preparing your risk management plan. Okay, how you're going to identify, manage, analyze your risks, etc. You create there your probability impact matrix, your risk breakdown structure, risk register, etc. You put that as part of your project governance, so you know when to escalate. What's the minimum threshold, not to go below or above, etc. Okay, for the risk score. Then you apply the next 6 steps regularly. Now, the only one of the few things really in a project that you need to do on weekly basis minimum. Really, like never miss a week. You have to repeat steps 2 to 7 every single week. Identify or look for any new potential risks, analyze your risks qualitatively and then quantitatively for the high risks. So qualitative analysis will help you, assess your risks, probability, impact, risk score, so you can prioritize them. Quantitative analysis, these more advanced analysis, whether using expected monetary value or any other techniques, so you can quantify the high risks. Then you plan your risk responses, whether they are threats or opportunities. Of course, I'm not going into details now, okay, because this podcast is short. Then you implement the risk responses, check their effectiveness, check if there are any residual risks or secondary risks, etc. And then you monitor your risks, those on which you have implemented those mitigation actions or whatever actions, and also the remaining low and medium risks in case any of them go up or down, higher or lower. So this is so in a very basic way how to explain these six steps, or 7 steps in risk management, please apply them regularly. Please, not create, don't just create a risk register at the beginning of your project, and then for the next 6 months to 12 months, you forget about and never visit it again, because that's really one of the main topics or one of the main things you need to do in a project, Gaber.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is apply with that anticipation, and the life cycle of let's say an issue or a defect is everything starts with as a risk, and that's why it's so crucial by PMI, and they emphasize it very well that you try to identify as many risks as you can in advance, and then what you do with that. So this process is allowing you to deal with it, but if a risk will materialize, you cannot call it a risk. That's why we talk about an issue, and issues can be only fixed by workarounds. That's why workarounds are never planned. And then if the issue cannot be fixed with a workaround, that's when we talk about the defect. But when you see a question when it will say, we already have an issue, is a big problem from a PMI perspective, because you not even identified it earlier. Because as soon as you identify it earlier, you can do at least something about it, employ some type of strategy. And I think, the key word here is that you have to understand this flow, and you have to understand it, how this flow will apply on Agile. Because on Agile, there is risk management, but that risk management, I would say, is slightly different, slightly more lean, let's put it this way, or very slim, comparing with waterfall, because you also need to be in line with how the 4 values and principles are aligned. So, and then on that front, there is always, I keep hearing this from many people, that on Agile, where you keep track the risks, and many people will say, I put it into the backlog. So the backlog is not intended for risks, and you never use it for risks. You will use it for user story / where the value will be generated. So risks on Agile will be discussed either on a daily stand-up meeting, and it's solved right away or managed right away, or it might can go to a whiteboard, and you keep track it on a whiteboard, to be honest with you. But
it's and also here we have the risk breakdown structure, just to understand the types of risks you can face, whether it's technical risks, could be something related to the machines, technology, to the requirements, some external risks related to market, customer, weather, etc. Some could have some organizational risks, related to resources, funding, or some managerial risks, such as risks with estimates, planning, etc. Always.
One question, sorry.
Yeah. Anytime, please. Don't say sorry. Anytime, please.
So I think one thing we all need to keep in mind, that the risk breakdown structure, even the risk register, is something which everyone have to take away and make the best out of it. And what I mean by that remember, PMI will never give you a risk breakdown structure. They're never going to give you a risk register template. Why? Because as soon as they might going to give one, it might not be applicable for one industry over to the other industry. So that's why I think when we all learning these principles and how does it work, we need to envision it as with a it depends answer. And that's why many times some people will say, oh, why we have so many it depends answer? Because there is no template. You use whatever is making sense to you. So for example, if you have a technical project, obviously you can do a breakdown from a technical perspective, but maybe there will be, let's say, very little or organizational type of breakdown. But if you have an internal project, there might be more on the organizational side. So I think that's why you all need to envision this. Also, because having an RBS is not mandatory, I would say, as per PMI, but whereas the risk register is absolutely mandatory in that sense.
Yes. Remember, guys, not everything you can categorize as a risk. Always there should be a triggering condition. And then when you see a trigger condition or a condition triggering a risk, you need to really immediately assess that risk, analyze it, assess it. So, in order to decide whether to take action or not, depending on the severity of the risk, how the probability, the impact, criticality, etc. So better sometimes to take precaution, to take action, rather than to regret that no action was taken and then something was blown up or blown away, or something was broken. So remember that. Some of the most important slides we have in our PMP training, some of the most important terminologies is the VUCA. The VUCA stands for the V for volatility, the U for uncertainty, the C for complexity, and the A for ambiguity. Okay. I think Gabriel, if you want, you can take this slide if you want to explain it, unless if you want me to proceed.
Yeah. So in terms of the VUCA model is very important, but do not envision it that in the end you're going to have a VUCA table right next to your risk register. So this is simply going to helping you with taking an action and how to take that action, hopefully to make sure that the risk will be avoided, which avoid means that taking an action and the risk will be 100% erased. Or you're finding you're taking an action where you mitigate something where technically the risk will be still there, but the probability will be maybe lower. So I think all this analysis is not necessarily an overhead. It's just going to helping you to make the right decision and also be more prepared that down the line that maybe a risk will not buy the project, will have maybe no impact or very, very little impact. But that's how you need to envision this, how this VUCA model can really help the project. In terms of the PMP, you definitely need to understand, what this stands for and what we do with that. So, for example, if I go into the uncertainty and also the ambiguity, maybe some people might say, oh, that both sounds exactly the same. But that's why you need to study it in a way that you're able to separate them and understand why it's actually been different. Yeah,
exactly. So you will not, again, as Gabriel said, you will not see them as words, but you need to understand them as concepts and terminologies. What do they mean? And then you can, knowing the theory sometimes can help us a lot with the practical side of the project management. Then once you have discovered the risks, you have logged them into the risk register. Then you can go with analyzing your risks. Okay, you can start with the qualitative analysis. There are a number of tools and techniques for qualitative analysis. I mean, the most technique we use is the probability and impact assessment. Okay, in order to define the let's say the level of risk, whether it's a high, medium, or low. You have also then you can use the probability impact matrix. Some urgency proximity that comes from other terminologies besides the VUCA. You can also use expert judgment, etc. Okay, and then once you have defined your high risks, then you can proceed with more advanced analysis such as quantitative analysis. Like the most common one is the most used one is the expected monetary value. We will not go in details to be honest, but then there is also decision tree analysis, the Monte Carlo using simulations, computer-based simulations, tornado charts, etc., etc. So there are a few techniques we teach. Not always you see these techniques in the PMP exam, but at least we teach you these in case you would need them in your work, because we don't only teach you for the exam. And then in case you ever see any of these words in the exam, you know what they mean. Of course, this is just a small podcast. We're sharing a couple of slides, but actually the chapter is much larger and bigger, where we go in details in most of these techniques, Gabriel.
Yeah, and I unfortunately can't help myself. I really would like to add many things here because this is one of my favorite. Because the way how we need to envision qualitative versus quantitative. So when you do qualitative risk analysis, this is where you go up to 1,000 risks on your project. And I would say that if you follow the PMI way of thinking, if you have a coffee machine in a break room, which technically every fifth coffee, it will spill on the right-hand side some hot water. And if you are there, it can spill on your hand and then it can be burned and you have to take, a little first aid or a plaster on it. And that means that you're going to be off from work for an hour. That is even a risk which you have to consider for your project. And, some of you might say that I'm slightly overthinking it, but that's the level of thoroughness you need to be prepared in terms of identifying risks, because the more prepared you are, the more predictable this outcome will be. So let's say you go qualitative risk analysis, you do you try to identify as many as you can. And this is where project management really becomes a team sport. We have to do this together, because, maybe I have my set of 10 risks and maybe Ahmed has his own set of maybe 100 risks, but we all need to align to make sure that we are understanding it. Because even the categorization, if something might be high to me, that can be just medium for Ahmed and anyone in the team. And this is where, the project manager really have to be like a facilitator to facilitate the discussion that we all coming to a common ground of categorizing those risks, because that can be very, very subjective in that sense. Yeah. And then once you have, let's say, these 1,000 risks created, then you quantify them. But again, remember, you don't have endless amount of time and endless amount of resources. So therefore, that's why the categorization coming into play, which you document in your risk management plan, that I'm going to only quantify maybe the high probability, high impact, or a high medium, or a medium high. And the reason why this is important, besides the resources, you need to see anomalies here. And what I mean by that, so if I have a risk which will go and say high probability but low impact, is it really, is the impact really low? Because this high low, it doesn't really always match. So we need to kind of discuss what that means. Or the same thing that, low probability but high impact. Now, and if you put down that there can be an earthquake, and hopefully there won't be any, well, you need to see that's really making sense, yes or no. So that's why you also need to,
that's why we talked about the trigger condition.
Yeah, exactly. But it can actually manifest in a way that the risk register can be filled in many things, which we all know will never happen. But in that case, that's also require a bit of an understanding. Now, continuing with the team sport of qualitative versus the quantitative. So the quantitative is also, let's say, a bit of requires the alignment, because when you do the expected monetary value, the probability multiplied by the impact, again, that's also very subjective. That if I say, if I have a risk of 50% failure with $100,000 impact, okay, how did you come up with this number? That would be the next question. So that's why that also needs to be understood. You need to break this down into some type of evidence that this will work. And all the other things you see on the screen, from Monte Carlo analysis to sensitivity analysis, you need to understand that PMI will simply give, even the decision tree, PMI is giving you options to use whatever is best for your project. Meaning that if you would like to use, you cannot use Monte Carlo analysis in every project. And let me give you an example. If your project is preparing for the PMP, can you do a Monte Carlo analysis? Well, maybe in the beginning, absolutely not. But as soon as you do test questions and you have some test results, maybe you can. But that will be very difficult to do. So it's not fit for purpose. That's what I'm trying to say. But as, for example, a sensitivity analysis, that's something which you can simply bring to your stakeholders, because they will understand. Anything on the positive side, they would like to maximize. Anything on the negative, they would like to minimize. So really the message is, you need to understand the fundamentals, how it works. And you'd have to take some of the information with a pinch of salt, because they might not be applicable for every project. And, PMI is giving you the best practice, which will fit for purpose any kind of project, from building a house to a marketing project to almost anything and everything. Yeah. So that's my little comments there.
Thank you for your addition. I see how you love the risk management part in project management. It's really one of the most important focus areas or performance domains of a project manager. And now, not every risk is negative, guys. Some risks are positive, we call them opportunities. Some risks are negative, we call them threats. And there are different ways how to respond to them. Usually when we say risk, we mean a threat, but actually not always. And when you have a threat, you can choose to avoid the threat by eliminating the reason for its existence, or simply by changing the plans. The most common action we use with the risk is to mitigate, try to reduce the probability or the impact of it. In case, or sometimes we can choose to transfer the risk through, for example, buying an insurance, for example, or a contract where we hand over the risk of the threat, for example, to another company. You can simply accept, for example, the existence of the threat without really taking any significant action, because it's not worth it, for example. Okay, and then maybe escalate in case the risk is much more severe and is out of your reach. You want the opportunities?
So exploit, I like to always explain it that's similar to the avoid, that you're taking an action and you ensure 100%ly that opportunity will be exploited, hence it will happen. So that's what really exploit is. Enhance meaning, you take some action as always, and that will just helping to make sure that that positive thing will happen. Let's put it this way. Give you a good example, and I'll give you a very, very nice example, and I'm going to use Ahmed for an example. So if you are lucky enough that you've been taught PMP by Ahmed, technically Ahmed will enhance the possibility that you pass the exam, because the only way he can exploit it if he sit on the exam on your behalf, but this cannot be done. Yeah. Let's put it this way. Share is something where you're forming like a joint venture, where the answer will be depends, but both parties are actually taking a stake from that opportunity. Escalate, same as on the threat side of things, where you escalate things which is outside of your authority as a PM to make a decision, which is even in this new concept PMBOK 8, you are encouraged to be more equipped to make decisions. But give you a good example. You have a project, you're building an office building. Now everything is on track, and then one day city mayor approach you and say, Gabo, you're doing a good job. Seems like everything is on track. If you guys can finish 1 month earlier, I'm going to reward you another project. Now, that's the point where you cannot make a decision. You need to take this to the sponsor to discuss that, what it takes whatsoever. So that's, let's say, an idea for the escalation. And also for the accept, again, you can, so accept will go into 2 categories, which is either actively accepting or passively accepting. Now, PMI will say that you always take some action, which means that passive acceptance is a category, but PMI never like that answer. So you are always do active acceptance in all cases. But this is where, so in the negative side is easier to explain. So I can only accept a risk which I cannot do anything about, which means that, let's say, okay, the tornado is coming. There is no magic button to press and say the tornado is gone. You can deal with the symptoms of getting prepared, go down to the basement, leave the town, but the risk will be still there. The risk will not disappear. So that's why you can only accepting it. And then let's say if your risk acceptance will be that you go and say leave town, that's an active acceptance. If you stay at your house and you're watching Netflix until the house is gone, that's a very passive acceptance, which PMI will never like in that sense. Okay?
Exactly. Good ones. All right. Perfectly on time. Half an hour for risk management.
I can go for 3 more hours. I'm sorry. Okay, there you go.
And then we would like to talk a little bit about AI, artificial intelligence. Everyone who's been waiting for version 8 or heard that version 8 is coming and now it includes AI, everyone on earth actually is curious how PMI is presenting AI in its PMBOK 8. And honestly, guys, the AI chapter in my training, my own, is quite long. As I said, practical cases, modular prompting, types of AI, so many other things. Honestly, I by myself, for every chapter I have in my training, every chapter starts with a similar style like this one. For whether it's a scope, schedule, risk, whatever, I always try to explain how that works in predictive, how that works in adaptive. Now, let me be clear about one thing. PMI strongly defends 2 things in the AI chapter. One, AI is a support to the human. That's so important. Okay, it's not replacing a human. It's not supposed to do the human's work. It's just a support because it's so fast. It can automate. It can generate. But it's a support tool. And 2, we have to be careful about ethics, about data privacy, about what to share, what not to share, about company policy. These are 2 red lines in the PMBOK 8 when it comes to the usage of AI. And the PMP exam that will start tomorrow, you will see 1 or 2 questions just about this part, not AI. I mean, this particular part in AI. how to use it, or ethically what to do, what not to do, etc. So those are going to be in your PMP exam starting tomorrow. Okay, and of course the usage of AI is different in predictive or in adaptive. Depends, because also you have to customize it based on the approach you have selected for your project. Okay, for example, in predictive we can use AI for a lot of upfront planning, but for adaptive it should support us with tracking the velocity or the performance, and to be able to learn fast and reprioritize fast, for example. Okay, and the same applies, is different for data input, for forecasting, for monitoring, for managing changes, for supporting the team, etc. So it's a long topic, but at least I'm sharing a few things here to help you, because sooner or later, all of us will, or actually we are. I think everyone now, all project managers are actually using AI in their projects, if I'm not mistaken, right?
To some extent, I would say is the answer is going to be yes. So the way how, what I would like to add, what you mentioned in terms of the impact of the PMP exam. So the way you need to look into this is that you're taking predictive lessons learned, continuous improvement, expert judgment into the next level. So you can put them on steroid. That's, maybe we can say it also this way, because what PMI acknowledges, that the AI will help you to make more data-driven decisions way much faster. And then when you're going to do that as per the best practice, you can do that as per planning when you implement previous project lessons learned, or you're using historical data. And that's where it can has a huge use of it. Whereas previously it was, I would say, either the PMO was doing it, or the project manager was actually spending a lot of time to gathering data, filtering data, see what we can use here. But this is where AI can really be as a companion, which is something which Ahmed also working on the same time. So that's why I think you need to, in project management, same as with Agile. So Agile, PMI always focusing on the software development from project management perspective, not how actually being write a code or manage a software. Same thing here in AI. So they're not going to teach you, let's say, how to writing prompts and creating AI agents, but instead how you use the data which is already available, and that will help you to faster make decisions, and therefore actually being, hopefully you can deliver the value quicker. So I would say that that's the biggest benefit on predictive. On the adaptive side of things, and if I think about, let's say, an Agile, Scrum planning, let's say, we are in a Scrum planning session. How the Scrum planning session will happen? You have nine developers in your team. You invite, or the product owner will invite the two most experienced person, because having all the team in, that's just going to create too much noise, and we don't have too much time on Scrum planning either. So you have two people coming in, and then instead of now they using their own judgment, or they tacit knowledge, instead they can also utilize AI to provide a better outcome in terms of how we're going to plan this sprint, and how to take the most impactful and the highest risk user stories first. Because also comparing the two, you remember waterfall, we do full-blown planning. Agile, we do more like an experience type of planning, but that's what is technically fitting into the small time window which we have for planning. And that's where AI can really help and provide more rope, because again, in one hand, predictive, lots of plans. On adaptive, you don't have, let's say, those full-blown plans, but you can use AI who can help you with the planning as a data input.
Yeah, well said. Now, one of the first slides I have in the AI chapter is to try to distinguish between few types of AIs, or few words. What does LLM mean? What does generative AI mean? What does AI mean? Few other terminologies, honestly, on some of the other slides, which I did not share here. Okay, so usually AI is the broad category of systems that they can resonate, they can learn, they can structure the data, they can analyze quickly, and they can automate the work. By the way, I explained this before, I might even say it again. Artificial intelligence. Actually, there is no intelligence in that. It's something trained, something we programmed as humans, and we taught it how to structure and how to even in large, it's a structure by itself. Okay, now it's human intelligence in a machine. That's what AI is. Okay, generative AI, it can create text, images, you know that, guys. Also sometimes it can code for you. There are famous tools for that, like Claude, like Claude, like ChatGPT, like any other tools. And then there is the large language models, the LLMs, um, which is generative AI. Okay, but it focuses more on understanding, generating language input output. Um, so there might be, I'm not sure, okay, but there might be a question, and usually it should be a matching question that would give you a scenario, and I would ask you what type of AI can handle this. Okay, so that could be. I'm not saying yes, it will be. That could be. Okay. For example, when we say ChatGPT, most people, Gabriel, they don't even know what GPT means. They know what chat means, but GPT is generative pre-trained pre-trained transformers. Okay,
Ah, now I
yeah,
know.
generative pre-trained transformer. So it's an AI model. Okay, it uses the deep learning, so it can understand the context. Let's say structured, divided, and
Uh-huh.
then it can give you the result that you expect. And by the way, it doesn't always give the result you can expect. I spend hours every day working on AI for different assignments, different on different projects, and I ask it to give me certain output. Now it does that. It gives it fine as I want it. Then I give it the same project, and I ask it to give me the same layout. Second time it does it right. Third time it starts hallucinating, getting out of the line, even though I tell it same colors, same structure, same layout, same this, same that. It does not understand, and I don't have a free version of it. I'm using the paid version of AI. So still, so you know what? Sometimes I tell myself, I wish I could have a designer, a human designer next to me, but who could be as fast as AI, because AI is a million times faster than a human designer. So I have my own designer. You know this, Gabriel. I know you have your own designer.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
this.
absolutely.
So when I need this night, I ask Abir. Her name is Abir. I ask Abir, my designer. I tell her, Abir, please, can you create for me this and this and that? It takes her, let's say, 3 hours to do what I want with back and forth explanation, but she understands exactly what I want. AI, it can do it in less than a minute, but then if I chat with it 2 3 times on the same topic, it gets lost. So sometimes I wish Abir was fast more than I wish AI was smart. Really,
Yeah.
I wish humans were fast, but not because I cannot wish if AI was smarter. But probably it can get better. It's actually 2026 is much better than 2025. If you remember how it was last year.
I think that's definitely a trade-off there. But from a PMP exam perspective, I think the reason why this slide is so good, because this is also shown that PMI don't want project managers that you deep dive into the different language models or generative AI or how does it work on a code level, but as a general knowledge, same as like when they implemented Agile, it started to be a general knowledge what Agile is, what are the values. This is how this
Yeah.
is actually being going to come in. And I think that's why, we need to have a good understanding. It doesn't mean you need to understand how to create an agent whatsoever, but you need to understand that if from a project management glances perspective, that where this can be used for and how you can using it. And that's exactly what PMBOK is also explained to you. So it's not like say, only A, B, C, D, and then you're not using E, D, F, and whatsoever. It is just going to give you, let's say, where this can plug into a planning, where can this plugged into a adaptive project. And I think that's why we should not be, let's say, too scared. It's just the way we're going to using it. And reflecting on what you mentioned about every PM is using it. So I have many students, they're using an AI to question analysis. And also there is a breaking point that AI does not understand the mindset either. So if I'm going to give them, give a set of questions with 4 answers, at least half of the time the AI will say, my correct answer is not correct. But if you give the explanation, okay, you give the explanation to the student, that makes sense why one answer is better than the other one. But as AI will not necessarily will have that understanding, because, and this is just, let's say, a bit of a warning to everyone, is that I think for the PMP exam, you can use an AI, but what I like to say so far, still human beings writing questions for the PMP exam, still human beings approving questions for the PMP exam. So I think that's sell the deal that you can use AI. Good for, I mean, why you can really use AI, it is one point. So if you are midway through your preparation, so let's say you completed Mr. Ahmed's course, and you wanted to go back and say, what about risk management? What's the difference between a Monte Carlo analysis versus a sensitivity analysis, which we just reviewed in a previous slide? AI will give you an answer in less than 1 minute. Instead of you going back to the videos or going back to your notes, you spend like half an hour just finding where the information is. Now AI will give you that information way much faster. And on that front, I fully supporting using AI, but putting questions in, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. Ask an expert instead.
Exactly. And AI can try to understand the context, can try to speculate, but finally the right and definitive answer or explanation always lays with the humans. Because I did a test earlier, just before coming to this live podcast. I asked AI about the topic it does not know. And the good thing about AI, it shows you what it's doing in the background while it is thinking, and preparing an answer. So what it was doing, I was looking at it. It was telling me, I'm searching this website, and then this website, and then this website, and then this website. What does it do? It skims through all the websites. It analyzes all the related questions or words or topics, and then tries to get an answer and tries to, understand in its own way as an AI, okay? Because it's not project management trained at the end. And even if it is, at the end, it's trying to get answers that are available online. And then based on that question I asked it, and based on those answers it found, it tries to build, let's say, a database. If I would simplify it for people, a database of such questions and answers. So then if Gaber tomorrow would ask AI the same question, it will pull the answer it got. It would pull it faster because it already made the research with me. Okay. But again, it depends on whether those answers it found online are correct or not, whether they are up to date or not. And then finally, can it analyze which was wrong, was right? I don't think so. This is why human judgment, as PMI says, is extremely important. Really, Gabriel.
Yeah. Absolutely agree with you, and that's also, let's say, a good judgment call that you can find lots of PMP free simulators on if you just simply put it into Google. But I think I tell everyone, I mean, as soon as you find a simulator which is free, fine. But if you don't know who's actually going to make it free, so let's say if I'm going to make it free or I make it free, I mean, if you're not happy, you can come back and talk to me on this. But if you can simply just a free simulator and you started to see questions which are more definition driven, more focusing on processes, lots of calculations, lots of formulas. Yeah. That's why you need to take it with a pinch of salt, that they are just simply copy pasting questions from a previous exams, and they just trying to claim it. This is new. But overall, and then the final comment for me. Sorry, I was just the risk management makes me so enthusiastic. So what happened to me last week? I got a call booked from a student, and I was asking the student, okay, how did you find me? Because he was not in my connections, not commented any of my posts, and he said, I was asking AI, and he said that you are an expert in PMP. I was like, I like AI. So the AI showed my LinkedIn profile, and they just booked the car. Fantastic. Yes, I like AI. Good. AI is good. AI is happy. You see?
Yeah. I mean, since the internet was incepted, at least also the past 20 years, we are always talking about SEO, search engine optimization. Now everyone is talking about AEO or AIEO or GEO, okay? Whether it's generative engine optimization, whether it's AI engine optimization, you can call it different names. But yes, definitely, AI, because it reads through the indexed pages on the internet, but then it gets the result way faster, 1,000,000 times or 1,000,000,000 times faster than the human. But doesn't mean that it knows better than the human. It's faster in searching, in indexing, in organizing the data, but then depends what kind of output it will give you. Now,
Also, maybe just a final thing on this is that I'm on YouTube very frequently, and there is one PMI ad coming up in my feed, which is all about AI. And okay, normally I click pass, but yesterday I was listening, or earlier I was listening to this guy, and the guy was saying, and he's absolutely right, that AI, we need to leverage AI, but currently AI is thinking about what we did in the past and trying to make a prediction based on that, how we're going to do the future.
Yeah.
But are we really going to do or take actions in the future based on what we did in the past? And that's also, let's say, a quick questionable item, that it can really analyze what happened, but how this is going to help us with the outlook? And we need to guide that. That's why we did all this data guidance. That is not a crystal ball to the future. It's not going to give me lottery numbers for tomorrow, Euro Lotto or Euro Millions. Yeah, unfortunately. Otherwise, everybody would have been won it.
Actually, I wanna enhance on this. Maybe you said the 50% of it. Let me give you the other 50%, please.
Okay.
Now, AI lives in the past. We humans live in the present. No one lives in the future. But AI is always in the past, because AI always needs to see our work, so it can then provide results to people who search for that particular subject. Now, this is what you just said. But the other part I need to explain to everyone here, because we're bringing up this AI topic, is that, as Gaber said, AI looks into the past, means what we have already created and delivered. And then Gaber said, and it tries to predict. Actually, the prediction models or models, the prediction models which AI is using is also from the past. It was trained, it was programmed. Yes, it is learning, but always from the past. Even if we trained it to try to predict in a certain way, maybe that way is not valid anymore for humans. Of course, those who train AI, they probably would change the model or the version of that predictability model, maybe every week, maybe every day, maybe every month, but it will get exhausting at a certain point. Why? Because it's humans who innovate. AI, it takes the past of the humans and tries to reconstruct it in a way how it was taught to do it, or try to predict it in the way how it was taught to do it. But if we humans come up with something new, which we don't tell AI about it, we will always stay ahead. Let me give you an example, Gaber, and I'll let you comment. That's a good one. Yeah, let me give you an example. I told you, and sorry, I got out the slides. Okay. I told you, and I have said this many times publicly. One of the reasons I wanted to undertake a doctorate degree in AI and machine learning is because I wanted to understand how, I wanted to break down the system and understand how it works from inside. That's why I'm doing this doctorate at the Walsh College. Okay. Now, I said this before and I repeat it. For me, as it's my duty to try to protect the project management community. I'm trying now, right after I stabilize my PMP training based on version 8, my tools, the new professional network, or the new professional platform I'm trying to build or rebuild, actually, called Job Review, then I will dedicate time to coming up with unique tools that don't exist on the internet at all, dedicated to project management and business managers, okay? That AI doesn't know and will not know, and I want to release it as part of an advanced certification, which I already also talked about before, called the Project Master, and I will do all my best to make sure that anyone studying that course will not. I will have to find a way to make sure that everyone studying that course will not be sharing it online or with the AI, because once we do that, then it will learn it. Because I want to develop unique skills, so valuable skills, so needed in business, that we keep it only for us humans, because once AI will learn it, it can easily replicate it, even improve it, not because it knows the future, but because it's faster. And then again, we go back to the square one, where companies thinking of hiring machines to replace humans, whereas we humans want to develop unique skills, advanced skills in project and business management that only us humans can know. So companies will always call us up and say, hey, can you come help me solve that problem? I could not solve it. Even AI doesn't know how to solve it. That's great because AI lives in our past, but doesn't know our present. And we're trying to build the present and shape the future, Gabriel.
Well said. Amen.
Okay. I hope you got the point. I don't know if you got it, but I hope you got it. All right. Now, one of the skills that the PMBOK 8 mentions is prompting as a skill. And just about prompting, I think I have in my course probably 5-6 slides. Now, prompting is a communication skills. So you as a project manager, you need to instruct AI clearly, because this is becoming core. Actually, as core as writing an email to a stakeholder or a customer. Okay, so there is a question, I think, in the PMP exam starting tomorrow about prompting, what kind of prompts to write, or what each prompt will get you with what results. Okay, it could be a drag and drop or matching or enhanced matching question. So in my course, I have few examples of prompting, at least minimum 10 examples. 10 examples of prompting. I think I have it here probably. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I have brought one of those slides. I have, I think, 3 slides with 20 prompts. Now I remember. This is one of them, actually. So 10 AI prompts every project manager needs. Sorry, guys, I jumped because it's kind of related. I go back to the previous slides later. So this is an example of a prompt. What's the purpose of the prompt? Then what kind of expected output or value? This, I teach this as part of the modular prompting topic. Again, guys, I'm not going fast, but it's not easy, to take an entire chapter and finish it in an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. That's why I cannot go in details. But what I can promise you guys is that when we release the companion tomorrow, I will keep the AI chapter open for everyone, at least to check the content, what we teach in the AI chapter for project management. So for example, I go through just an example of a prompt, like we mentioned the risk management earlier. So you ask the AI to act as a risk manager. Okay, so and you tell the AI, okay, from this scope which I have just described to you, list the top 10 risks with their likelihood, like probability, potential impact, and how to respond to each one of them as a table. Okay, so what you expect to get is a sort of risk adjuster. Okay, I mentioned this as a risk. I started with risk because we already covered risk management a bit earlier, Gabriel. And then you go on and you go on with different types of prompts, and you learn modular prompting in the PMBOK 8 training. So this is one of the things, because this has become now an essential tool of the project manager, whether we admit it or not. But prompting actually is a skill, is a training itself, and it has become even a certification, Gabriel. Just prompting.
Yeah, and I think, but this is also in line what we mentioned about this data-driven decision making, and provide value faster, because even some of the examples which I read it through, creating a priority risk list, or drafting a project charter, or using a project charter to drafting the high-level requirements, or creating the the scope statement, which includes what we do, what we not do. That's where you save significant amount of time. Obviously, as you mentioned in the beginning, you cannot add company proprietary data into any kind of free chat GPT, because that will go against the data policy by any company. But that's where the message is that most companies will develop their own AI, which can be fed with the own company data, which you not use anywhere else. But as a best practice, as a principle, I think you just need to understand that how and where this can be useful, and then those questions are trying to test you on that sense. And I think I'm not surprised. What I see is a similar trend when we had Agile implemented like 5 years ago, when it's coming in, so it's going to be fun.
And by the way, I asked AI to give me a funny joke. I think it was last week. I asked it. It told me this: you give me garbage, I give you garbage. You give me good data, I give you good output. So when people get bad results, when they prompt and they don't get the expected results, because usually people are impatient, they expect AI, which is a machine living in the past, to know everything, to even go inside our head or our minds and know what we want. So we just tell this, create a business plan for me. Well, you cannot say this to a machine. Remember, the machine doesn't know, you doesn't know. I mean, even if you try to specify, you have to be as specific, as detailed as possible. Talk to AI as if you are talking to a human, to whom you need to explain your idea or your request as clear, as precise as possible, so you can get the expected results fast, and you wouldn't need to do any back and forth, prompting with it, and then you lose all your credit, because anyway, at the end, AI runs on credit. And let me say this to everyone watching: AI is not cheaper than humans now, and this is really one of the reasons I want to contribute to making humans more valuable always and ever than AI. Because at the end, the human, you're paying them a salary. AI will consume a lot of tokens, a lot of your credits, that you will have to pay more and more and more. And then at the end, you figure out that wouldn't have been better if we kept the humans. Oh yes, we will reach that point one day, unless if we save ourselves already now, and we save people's jobs. I mean, I'm not being skeptic or being phobic. I forgot the name. Being so paranoid. I'm not paranoid, but we see that. You see, my company was hiring a couple of months ago, and we were hiring even software engineers and software developers, and some of them were even surprised we are hiring them, and they said, "My God, we thought companies stopped hiring us." Come on, 5 years ago, guys, 3 years ago, you were the most people in demand on earth. Okay, yeah. Again, as I said, I really picked only a few slides. PMI insists on adopting AI with a strategy. Don't just adopt AI. The joke that was circulating on LinkedIn 2 weeks ago, where I think a project manager asks the decision makers in the company, "Do you want AI?" Everyone says, "Yes, we want AI." "When do you want it?" "Now." Everyone's screaming, "Now." "What do you need it for?" "We don't know, but we think it's fashionable, so we want AI." And everyone expects that AI would do, I'm sorry for the word, but would do magic. Actually not. AI is a tool, and it has to stay a tool. So PMI says, please adopt AI with strategy. First of all, decide what kind of added value we can have from AI. Then check the organization's readiness for that and maturity. Is it ready? Does it have the enough the infrastructure? Are we going to implement AI and use it, or are we going to implement or buy some tool and then just watch it and leave it on the side? Okay, like for example, in certain countries, the public organizations or the governmental entities where they still run on pen and paper. I know some countries where they try to do a total AI, not total, some AI transformation. They spend the money, they bought the tools, then after a couple of weeks, they put them back on the shelves, those tools, and they went back to pen and paper because the mindset was not ready. Then prioritize your use case, like which work or which assignments you really want to prioritize. Okay, for integrating with AI or integrating AI on it, and then do your pilot. Make sure that you really understand the results. You see the setbacks, the pitfalls. Because a pilot is always in a smaller scope, so you can control it. And then once you assess the results of the pilot on the AI adoption, then you can scale, with a clearer plan. Okay, so this is one of the topics in PMBOK 8, and I wanted to bring it to your attention, everyone here. All right. Then also another slide I picked from many in my training slides is how to be responsible and ethical in the use of AI. So to be, to be accountable for how it is used and the impact it creates. Okay. So first of all, you have also check for bias, because AI can reflect biased or skewed data. Again, see, it relies on data. Actually, it doesn't have a brain to think. It's just programmed to say this is wrong, this is right. We asked AI about some sensitive topics of some, let's say, issues or causes going on around the world. And if the programmers of AI said, "Oh, don't ever answer this way. Don't ever say, no, we're a country of freedom or of freedom of speech. Oh, no, we don't." So it will just refuse any other answer, for example, because it was programmed that way. So it's just a machine at the end. It's not necessarily fair or ethical. You have to be transparent. So always disclose your management or stakeholders when and how AI is being used in your deliverables. So, for example, if you're making a presentation to a customer and you're using AI in it, so you have to be honest about it. Say, yes, I'm using AI. I have integrated AI. AI helped me, analyze the data, consolidate the data, make some research, etc. But always, and this is what repeats often in PMBOK 8, several times it repeats in PMBOK 8, to keep us humans accountable. So AI can automate, can draft, can suggest, but we make the decisions and we own it, okay? Because we're the ones with the brains. The AI is with the chip. We are with the brain, and that brain created the chip, okay? And also something very important, PMI insists on protecting data privacy. So don't ever share any contracts with a client with an AI, okay? Because anyway, it becomes then public. Even though AI says, no, I'm not diffusing any of the information in this chat with any other person. Well, when I was watching Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson's movie in 2013, Her, and I was watching it in 2013, and I got really scared of what could come to humanity based on that movie. I realized that actually AI is not keeping it just for itself. You never know who's behind AI. And then finally, use it with integrity. So be fair, be honest, be responsible, try to build trust, because that's what really distinguishes you as a project leader. Gaber, if you want to add anything on to this.
No, I would say nothing much. Maybe the movie name. You should let us know what was the movie name.
Her, Her. Her. I watch because you see, I'm a movie addict. I love movies so much. Movie and football. These are the two things I'm so addicted to. Okay, so for example, last night I was delivering the free PGMP training, and at the same time I had my phone next to me with a football match. Of those two teams and that game. I said, but anyway, when I was watching this movie called Her, Her, of Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. So Scarlett Johansson was playing the AI, just the voice. She was not being shown. Joaquin Phoenix, he was a guy who discovered this platform or tool, and then he got so addicted to it. And when I was watching this 13 years ago, I told myself, I'm almost 100% sure we're gonna reach that stage. I mean, AI, and 5 years ago there was this metaverse. They tried to, proceed with it, but it was more complex than ever imagined. I think it would take just a few years, really, a couple of years, until we reach that level of that. I mean, of what was shown in the movie. I think so. Okay, to be honest. So if you want to watch it, Gaber, feel free, but please don't get addicted.
We'll check it out.
Okay. All right. And then keep humans in the loop. Again, this is also from the PMBOK 8. All right. So always, keep the authority with you as a human. You own the decision. So humans matter because they prevent errors. We humans, we prevent errors. It's written here. We apply judgment that AI doesn't know the context of our business, of our project, of our environment. Okay. It doesn't have the experience as we do. All right. Doesn't know the values. Personally, sometimes when I use AI, it gives me some results which are against the values we're defending or we're presenting. So I cannot use what it gave me as a result. We protect stakeholders. We know what matters the most for stakeholders. And let me give you something very, very, very important, about this point, protecting stakeholders. AI, it's much better now than 4 years ago. It tries to be polite, decent, integral, but it doesn't know my stakeholders. So sometimes it was giving me answers or suggestions that I know it wouldn't work with that stakeholder or with that project context. So be careful with that, okay? We also manage the risk because we own it. And we are the ones that at the end will be held accountable. Imagine you rely, in 90% of your work on AI, then something goes wrong because of an AI decision, even though you're the one supposed to take the decision. Now, who will your management blame? Are they going to fire you or fire AI? If anyone can answer this question, then they will know what to do with AI. Remember, at the end, who gets fired?
I think, that's a very valid point, and also related to the previous slide when you mentioned that, the ethical use of AI. So I would say that I definitely don't want to use AI against anyone, or fabricating messages or asking for feedback whatsoever. So I think, and that's at the moment, this is where everybody or the whole industry trying to trying to define what will be the best way of using it. But if you are nervous, if you are angry, please do not go to AI for options. Definitely has nothing to do with that in real life. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. So always, keep your human review into what AI does. Okay, so AI can generate, but humans can review. We take a decision, we make the decision point, and then we communicate, and then we monitor and learn. Okay. Now, one of the last slides, really, I did not want to take long on this because I promised people that I will open the AI chapter for them tomorrow on the companion. So, guys, if you are watching, stay tuned. Tomorrow, I will open parts of the AI chapter on the companion for you, along with other chapters, so you can enjoy that and see, what we teach in the new PP training. So, I wrote here what AI cannot do, and between brackets, yet. I mean, all of this is generated by AI because I prompted it and I asked it to do this and this. But then I can tell you something funny, Gaber. When I was asking AI to create this slide and to list what AI cannot do yet, okay, I actually have put other things, but AI refused to put on the slide.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it refused. Really, it refused. I wrote other things, but said no. I'm going to just, I'm going to say that AI cannot tell jokes, cannot read faces in meetings, like face of a stakeholder or team member, cannot understand emotional intelligence of people yet. I insist on yet. Cannot probably motivate a team member, even though in the movie Her, it was motivating a lot. It cannot calm an angry customer. Imagine an angry customer, and then AI comes with and say, "Hey, Mr. Robot, please can you calm down? Please can you not shout on me? Can you please lower your voice?" I think the angry customer would play, even though, of course, now that's back in the movies of the 80s. Now, I talk to AI with voice. It sounds like my wife. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, it sounds so human. Okay. But it will not build relationships. It will not make moral judgment or ethical decision making because it doesn't know ethics. Only what we have taught it. So, among many other things, among many other things.
But the main root of it is that. So, as soon as this whole AI hype started, I was saying that if AI can help me to spend more time with my stakeholders and managing my team, I will be more than happy. So I'm embracing AI, and I think that's where you need to, because that's where you spend most of your time. Communication internally, externally. Make sure your stakeholders are also aligned, and then if in that front it can be a great companion, then it fit for purpose. But other than that, is in project management is not a quick fix or not a copy paste. The job requires lots of thinking, and again, as you mentioned, not always just analyzing what happened in the past, but how we're going to find a innovative idea for a problem. Most likely will not be able to tell us, because otherwise we would have been solved it in the first place.
Exactly. All right. Really, as I said, guys, I did not want to share much, not because I don't want, but because of the time. You see, I'm teaching in 45 minutes from now. So, but again, as I promised, I'm really going to open the AI chapter for you guys tomorrow on the companion. I just don't know if it went live. Probably it went live. I'll have to check it later because I'm logged in, so I will know only if I log out. Yeah. Anyway, so tomorrow you will have the AI chapter open. Yeah, exactly. I think it will be open. I will, artificial intelligence. I think I will open it along with its quizzes. Okay. So, Gaber, It's been a very nice journey together, sharing, um, let's say, I would call it a mini PMP training. What do you think? Was it a mini PMP training?
Sort of. Sort of it was. I think we really touched base on the time given, on the key topics and the key changes on the new exam. I think since the LinkedIn Lives are also available, I highly encourage all the audience to go back and rewatch most of the sessions as well. This is where you're going to be able to gain lots of good insights and understanding. Like today, I was very enthusiastic about risk management. That's exactly what you're going to expect on the previous sessions as well. So I think it's a great set of sessions. Maybe we should do more of those later on this year.
We are always happy to help everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Please, if you like today's sessions, please thumbs up, make some noise, put some comments, put some likes and shares. That would be really much appreciated. We have spent on average 1 hour and 15 minutes per session. We've had in total 8 sessions. So we're talking about on average 10 hours. 10 hours?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly 10 hours. So that's almost 1/3 of a PMP training. It was a discussion covered with through a few slides from the real training. So you can always go back to the recordings, guys, and watch them. Stay tuned for tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow is the official launch. I think most of the project management experts in the world will start talking about that tomorrow. You will hear a lot of noise here and there. Just one interesting number, Gaber.
Yeah.
From 1984, the year I was born, until 2020, there was about 1 million people on Earth with PMP certification. In about 36 years. And then from 2021 until now, 800,000 more people. Almost what was achieved in 5 years is almost equal to what was achieved in 36 years. Yes, of course, the internet made it much easier and quicker to learn about PMP, to find out about PMP, but awareness of the certification, what is being shared, the importance of the certification, the value it brings, that all changed the game. And I think there will be more, guys. So stay tuned for more. I think the end of this year, beginning of next year is bringing more advanced certifications to all of us. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I think even much more. So I think, the prediction for 2030 is going to be 4 to 5 million PMP certified. And that's no longer like a vision. I think that will definitely happen. We are getting there.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Gabriel. Been really nice ride with you, man. See you around.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
All right, I'm ending this stream, everyone. Thank you. Thank you to Gabriel.